Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest oil painting time-lapse, and also it is Studio Sessions episode 3. Real quick before I begin, if you would like to see a 30-minute version of this video with helpful voiceovers and other fun daily rewards, check out patreon.com/happydartist. Today's topic is going to be about oil painting. So as many of you know, lately I have been trying to create as many oil paintings as I can in preparation for a few solo shows coming up. I'm actually going to be having a meetup in Denver in April for my first solo show, and I'll give you guys more information on that at the end of the video if you haven't seen the meetup announcement yet. But yeah, I've been oil painting a lot recently, and it's pretty much consumed my life, and I've just rediscovered all of the reasons why I fell in love with oil painting and why I put myself through a lot of stress and trials just to try to learn this highly, highly feared medium for a lot of people. So I decided to make a video about reasons why you should not be scared of oil painting, because I hear a lot of comments where people say that they only have experience with markers and colored pencils or only water-based paints such as watercolors and acrylics, and they just feel too intimidated to try oils. And I just really wanted to kind of give a few examples of why people are very intimidated by oils, and maybe offer like another point of view, maybe help show you guys that oils actually aren't as daunting as they might seem. So yeah, the first reason why people are usually very intimidated to try oil painting is because they think it's very difficult to use. Like, it's very hard, and there's a lot to memorize, and it just seems like really tough to work with. It's just overall very daunting. And honestly, it's really not as daunting as you might think. I think a huge reason why oil painting seems so foreign and seems like such a almost distant, far away goal, or not a fun experiment to try for any new artist, is because we're not really used to being exposed to oil painting. In schools, if you ever take art class in a grade school, usually you're only constricted to water-based paints. And so because you're not exposed to it from an early age, the only oil painters you ever hear of are the kind of old classical masters, and of course they are very intimidating because they're all very iconic and legendary. It just doesn't seem like an easy everyday thing that normal human beings can pick up as a hobby. And honestly, in my opinion, I think oil painting is actually a lot easier to work with than other mediums. A great example is I actually find it very tough to work on drawings because you're limited by how much medium you can deposit onto your surface. So if you deposit too much graphite or the colored pencil, you can have wax buildup. If you erase too hard, you might break the paper. Honestly, if you just spill a drop of coffee on a drawing in the wrong place, you might be totally screwed and that drawing will be ruined. With oil painting, it's super easy to fix the mistakes you made. If you spill coffee on your oil painting, you can always wipe it up, no problem. Oil paintings, at least mine, are usually done on wood, so they're very resistant to being dropped, or if you accidentally put too much pressure on it, it'll be fine. And honestly, even if you paint something terrible, like let's say you meant to use white paint, but you accidentally use dark blue, you can honestly easily just wipe it away with some paint thinner, or paint another thick layer over it, or honestly just wait for it to dry as well, and you can just paint over it. So there's so many ways to Control-Z your mistakes with oil paintings that I feel like you don't get with other mediums. So in some ways, I feel like oil painting is easier to work with. Also, because and this leads to my number 2 reason, and that's people complain about drying too slow, which is a common complaint amongst painters who use acrylic and watercolor, because acrylic and watercolor always dry within at most an hour, I believe. And I actually really do appreciate the slow drying time of oils. First of all, there are many things you can use, such as fast drying mediums, to help speed along the drying process. So the time I wait in between layers, given that I don't deposit a huge thick blob of paint, like if I'm just painting normal skin or using actually manageable layer thicknesses, it usually takes me only a few days for the layers to dry completely. And that being said, if you allow yourself to work on several pieces at once. Let's say you have 3 oil paintings going at the same time. When you're waiting for one painting to dry, you can work on the other paintings, and that will get rid of any impatience or boredom you might have if you don't want to wait around. And personally, I love the long drying time because first of all, I don't have to remix my colors. A lot of the colors that I use are still fresh on my palette the next day. It saves me a lot of hassle. And also, I love that you have a lot of time to blend. So if I were to paint, let's say, a giant night sky and I wanted to paint foggy, soft clouds or stars, I could basically paint my entire canvas with black oil paint and it would still be wet enough for me to create very soft, blendy, blurry shapes for up to, a few days. I don't have to rush myself. I feel like if I was using acrylic or watercolor, I would be forced to get all the blending stuff done a lot earlier, or just at least force myself to pick a perfect time to do it. And I wouldn't have as much freedom choosing and kind of hopping around my piece, choosing which parts I want to work on at what time. So yeah, honestly, the slow drying doesn't really bother me at all. And okay, the third reason that people also are afraid of oils is they say that it's toxic, which I think, honestly, I'm not denying that it is toxic, but what I'm saying is all paint is toxic. So the toxic component of oil paintings, first of all, oil painting only has a few simple ingredients. Usually it's just paint pigment, which is like a dried up powder of all the colors, and some sort of binder. And I can't speak for every oil painting company, but based on my visit to Gamblin, I saw that they use linseed oil or flax oil or some sort of very natural plant-based oil to mix with a bunch of pigment, and that is what creates oil paint. And if you look at the ingredients lists for acrylic or watercolor, just because they're water-based doesn't mean it's just made with pigment and water. They have a lot of other strange binders that I can't even pronounce the name of. And also, it's not the oil from oil paint that is toxic. It is pigment itself. And pigment are everywhere. Anytime you use a tube of paint that has color, it has some sort of powdered pigment. So in my research and my experience, oil paint is the same toxicity as other paints. And honestly, none of the paints are so toxic that you have to worry about your health. I really think as long as you keep your studio ventilated, you don't eat your paint, and remember to wash your hands before you eat food after painting. Just practice safe health practices and common sense, and you will not have to worry about the toxicity, really. I think, keeping your studio ventilated is a really, really good way to prevent anything from getting into your lungs. And the last reason why people are afraid of oils is that it's too expensive, which, yes, I do have to agree. An oil painting kit, like all the materials you need to create an oil painting, will cost you more, especially up front, than if you were to work exclusively with graphite drawings or colored pencils or maybe even markers. But I don't know, guys. I still have some oil painting tubes that I bought in high school that are still very usable and very easy to work with and still pretty good quality. Oil paint lasts a really long time. And same with your brushes. If you invest in a really good brush up front and you take good care of it and you make sure to clean it often and not abuse it too much when you're painting with it, I have brushes that have lasted me for over 2 years. And there's so many cost-saving ways to start oil painting. For example, you don't need to buy a big fancy easel. You can either buy an affordable easel or just lean your painting against a wall or something like that. Or if you don't have time to buy a glass palette, my friend Lena Danya made a really cool video where you can use dollar store glass that comes in the dollar store frames and use that as the palette. I mean, honestly, I see Copic marker sets that run for like $300, and I see individual markers that cost like upwards of like $7, which is around the same cost as a tube of oil paint. So honestly, it's really not that expensive because it lasts so long. So there you have it, 4 reasons why you should not be scared to oil paint. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like to see prints and stickers of this piece and many others, check out happyd-artist.com. And also, I'm going to be having a meetup at Sally's Centigrade Gallery on April 13th, 2017, 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I'll have the address and information listed on the video here and also in the description below. And it is free to attend. And I can't wait to meet you guys. And I will definitely have a few little free gifts to give you guys at the show. So until next time, have a great day and bye!